It's been 3 years since the Tragically Hip announced their retirement and almost 4 years since the passing of Gord Downie. The group released a surprise album last week called Saskadelphia that features 5 tracks that were recorded over 30 years ago when they were making their album Road Apples.
I'm not about a king. I'm Mama Feather Thing.
The journey of the song in itself, all of them, is like a whole other story. I can't help but nerd out over it. Originally you thought these were lost. It turns out they weren't. When did you actually get your hands on these?
Well, it was Johnny Fay was leading the charge. He's got an knack for it. Plus he lives in Toronto where some of the tapes were found. There was a lot of trying to get to the bottom of where our tapes were. We were signed out of LA. So we knew that there'd likely be some there, hopefully not ones that were in the fire. So it was more song at a time thing. It wasn't like this big vat of songs showed up. And it was over the course of months, we collected the ones we could find. We didn't find everything, but we were continually discussing and hearing. We have our guy Mark Reekin, who's been our main sound guy for our whole career, and he was these tunes hadn't really been properly mixed by Don Smith, who produced Road Apples. Anyway, so we gradually were sent all the stuff, and I was shocked at how much I liked it. I was really hesitant to push play because it was kind of like 30 years, and but it became obvious early that this was pretty cool, pretty neat. Just this band that was pretty confident, pretty on fire back in our 20s, a long time ago.
And then like the nerdy part for me is also like a lot of people don't know you actually have to bake these tapes. Then the process of getting it from tape to digital, like you get 2-3 passes, and that in itself, like it's very delicate. Were you in the studio for this part? Because I can only imagine like that was really stressful, but then you're also hearing these songs you haven't heard in 30 years in a studio way.
You're absolutely right. This most of this went down during lockdown. The search and the finding of tapes, and then the baking of the tapes. And as you say, you have to bake the tapes for 12 hours at 135 degrees or something like that. And you get 2 or 3 passes, and then all the silver nitrate starts flaking off the tape and it's gone forever. So you got to transfer it instantly to another medium. And so they just kind of did the hockey stick mix where they push all the faders up and get everything recording. And Johnny listened to it and was like, it sounds like the band is in the room with us. He was there overseeing he oversaw the search for the tapes, the finding of the tapes, and then the transfer of the tapes. He was there every step of the way as our eyes and ears. And he said he was just blown away that even unmixed, it sounded like the band was in the room. And at that point we thought, we might actually have something here.
I think the surprise was the individual qualities of these songs. I mean, we hadn't heard Ouch in 30 years. We knew it. We remember loving playing it. Kind of surprising it didn't make the record, but there's always a reason certain songs don't make it. Like if another song, Ouch, I got this example from you, Robbie, but maybe it was because Twist My Arm kind of covered that funky kind of, up-tempo rocky funk. And so anyway, the songs were way better than we remember, but I wasn't surprised how we were playing together because that's all we did. And we'd all kind of eked out our roles and we knew what we were doing. And but very happy that the recording sounded really good and that all of a sudden it became exciting.
I really love how you included little moments, kind of the banter or talking in the studio, which I imagine there's a lot more on the tapes. But what was it like for you? You're hearing Gord's voice, you're hearing your conversations. I can only imagine that for so many reasons, that must have been an emotional experience for you all.
Yeah, there were more than a couple of times when I was listening back to prospective takes or something, and you'd hear Gord's voice between songs, and I would just have to turn it off for a minute and kind of gather myself. There are a couple of versions of alternate versions of things we heard where I was just like, yeah, I can't do this right now. It's a little much. And, it's a continuing process for us. After the final show, I think we all just kind of had to walk away and go our own ways and figure out how to grieve and get through things, figure out who we were, what we were going to do with our lives.
That you kind of mentioned something that I've been trying to figure out how to ask you this question. It's a weird kind of question, but I remember about a year and a half ago, I was standing in a field in England talking to Kelly Jones, who's the lead singer of the Stereophonics, who loves you all and spoke about
And we love him.
how your music kind of changed his life and his career. And I just look at like you're living in your legacy right now. Is this sometimes kind of a lot to take in?
I think it helps that we all went through this together. I mean, like the 32 years or so together with Gord, and then his passing, the final tour, and his ability to have achieved that. I think, it's a bit surreal, but it's been our life for so long, the five of us. And so that's, while we were grieving, we kind of all in sort of a fog, wondering what's next. Is there anything next? I mean, we still have a studio, and we had decided we were going to keep the studio going, like mostly for other bands, but also for our individual stuff. But yeah, it was stumbling on the, because of the fire and because of the our new search for tapes, specifically with Road Apples, it being the 30th anniversary, specific focus on finding some outtakes from there. That keeps it kind of normal. Feels like the band when we're on a Zoom call discussing how it was in New Orleans recording with Don for Road Apples. And so I'd say, it's like 85% normal, 15% surreal, as a guess. Hard to say.
Yeah, a couple of years back, I was out on the West Coast, and they had asked if I would get up and play with them at I think they were at the Phoenix or the Danforth Music Hall in Toronto. They asked if I would get up and play, and I said, I'm on the West Coast. I'm coming back that night, but I'm not going to make it in time. I won't have any gear with me, but I'm coming to the show. I'm going to try and catch some of it. And I walked in the front door, and I had my bag from the airport, and I just checked my bag and my coat, and I went running in, and Johnny had just sat down at the drum kit. And then he played 3 songs with them. It was unbelievable. I love those guys. The Stereophonics are a great band. And if I can say one more Stereophonics thing, I was home one night from touring. We'd been out on the road for a long time, and I climbed into bed and turned on the TV, and the Brit Awards were on. And I watched this band that I'd never heard of, the Stereophonics, beat out U2 and Oasis and all these other bands for various awards. I'm like, who are these guys? And then they won Band of the Year or Album of the Year. And they said, we want to thank the Tragically Hip because we wouldn't be here without them. I was like, I love this band. They're my favorite band. I'm just that shallow.